say she's pretty dead with that, but come here. See whether you... Hey! Gotta move back.
Well, as they say, now that I have your full attention, let me say, first of all, welcome to the show. Appreciate you tuning in today, and I want to introduce you to our partners in crime that you just saw in a pretty spectacular elephant charge. And boys, are you there? They are.
Yes, sir.
Well, I every time I look at that piece of footage, it just drives home the reality of, we call it dangerous game hunting for a reason, and we're going to break down that sequence here in detail in a little bit. But first of all, I want to welcome you both to the show and introduce our guest today. And of course, up in the right-hand side, we've got one of the two principals of Charlton McCallum Safaris. We got Mr. Buzz Charlton, Professional Hunter. Buzz coming to us today from Harare. We interrupted his dinner to jump on with us for the next hour or so. And then we've got Todd Curell. And Todd, neither one of you guys are rookies to our new podcast experiment, but Todd, for those of you, is a really a dear friend, great safari client, and Todd has one of the larger rep agencies in the United States that, firearms, ammunitions, all kinds of gear. If you're watching this, there's a chance that you are using one or more of the companies that Todd's group represents. So Todd, thank you for being here with us today. And I've really been looking for, this is going to be a hell of a show, guys, because you two shared a hell of a safari. The Nyakasanga area, that's a special area. That whole lower Zambezi Valley's known for its dangerous game hunting. There's a lot of plains game in there, but I mean, primarily people go there for dangerous game hunting, including lions, and it's a hell of a destination, my friend.
No, it really, really is, Dave. We chose it for that reason. The valley as a whole has, good predators, but Nyakasanga has the highest density in the Zambezi Valley. And I think one of the reasons, obviously, it borders onto Monopools National Park on the east side, and then borders onto Reefer on the west, which hasn't been hunted for several years. And then across the river, although not a lot of lions swim, but they do, you've got national parks in Zambia. So it really is a wild and beautiful area to be hunting all your dangerous game, but in particular lion, and that's why we ended up booking there.
Now, Todd, was this your first lion?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I had hunted a few years previously with Buzz for an elephant bull, and we had been trying to put a lion hunt together for a couple of years and managed to put this together. And Buzz hit it on the head. Man, the density of predators, especially in that Nyakasanga area. I think on that hunt we saw something like 36 males. I mean, it was a lot of lions in that region. So that was exciting for sure.
Well, I thought this was your first lion hunt, and just so you know, Todd has shot just about everything else in Africa and maybe saved the lion for his last of the dangerous game. But, there's none of us that have ever, been to Africa, especially in wild Africa, that, the lion, you just can't think of Africa without thinking about lion. And it's something, not everybody will shoot one, but certainly all of us dream of, hunting lions. And it is where do you rate the hunt for lion, not just on the danger factor, but just the overall experience?
Dave, I think for me, it rates right up there, and actually is the ultimate hunt if you involve tracking in it. And that's something that I chatted with Todd about at length about it. Nyakasanga is easier tracking than some of the valley areas, but still difficult. but the focus really was to try and be able to track male lions. And I always do on all my hunts, even if you lose the track, at least you know which direction he's going and you can bait ahead of him. But you talk about how do you rate it? I tell you what, if you can track a lion on foot and come up to him and get your trophy by tracking, it's the ultimate hunt. It doesn't often happen, but when it does, it then becomes really the top of the top when it comes to dangerous game hunting.
Well, before we dig into it, I want to say, the backbone of this series and of our Tracks Across Africa television shows and our Hornady's Dark and Dangerous shows that we've been doing for 20 years, the backbone of our production has always been to highlight the adventure of safari. And now we've got a new tool that we're introducing, and we've been talking about it, but now it is up and it is available. And of course, I'm talking about our Safari Classics TV app, and you can get it right now. And I'm going to hope you're going to sometime today look at it. Now, when you download this app, of course, you can use it on your phone, you can use it on your iPad, or you can load it up on your 90-inch screen TV and watch it at home. But what you're going to get that you can't find just on the YouTube, there's a lot of goodies involved in this, and one of them is 20 years worth of television shows that if you didn't see them on Outdoor Channel or Sportsman's Channel, this is the only way you're going to be able to see these shows. And you can pluck whatever episodes that you want to see, and they're going to be on there. 20 years worth of, and I'm talking hundreds of television episodes. You're going to see exclusive scenes. You're going to see footage that's never been seen before. That we save for this app, and we're going to have articles on there. We're going to have we'll deliver knowledge that you need to hunt Africa, like gear, tactics. We're going to have a community. You're going to be able to connect with other hunters from around the world, and like we're going to have today with Buzz, we're going to have some of the top professional hunters in Africa that are going to be mainstays in this series. So if you want to ask questions and hear from the very best in the business, the Safari Classics TV app is the place to do it. Makes a hell of a good Christmas present, and you can see it at safariclassicstv.com. So what's your plan? Mentally walk us through, your preparation for a 21-day lion hunt.
Well, it's as you say, it's booked on 21 days because sometimes you do need that amount of time. And what we decided, and it actually is what we do on all of our hunts, the important thing is to get bait up as soon as possible. So the preparation was, in the beginning, choosing the right area, and we chatted through Nyakasanga was the right area for me and Todd for what we wanted to do. So when we had that pegged out, then Todd arrived in the preparations when the hunt actually starts, and that was initially to try and get something large as bait, because you want to get 5 or 6 lion baits out as quickly as possible. You want to give it a couple of days where it will start to smell and attract your hyenas, which then call, and then the lions often hear that, follow them in. Lions smell the drag, smell the stomach that you put up there. So the priority in the beginning, Dave, was to try and get something big, and big being easy was either a tuskless elephant or a hippo. And that was the initial part of the planning to get us to a point where we really were starting our lion hunt.
Well, Todd, I want to kick it to you. When we go, all of us, when we book a safari, we always have expectations, and you have a vision in your head, not just what the type of animals you're hoping to see and maybe be able to take, but the experience. So you and Buzz had been talking about this hunt for a while. So what were your expectations? Really, what were your goals on this hunt? Besides just shooting a lion, there were other goals.
Yeah, I mean, that's a twofold question. I try to approach any trip I go on as though it's kind of everybody's vacation. I want all of the camp staff, I want the trackers, I want the PHs to just enjoy themselves. I find if you can remove the pressure of performance on something like this, it makes for a way better safari, and everybody has a great time. And frankly, it has 100% of the time paid dividends when it comes to where the rubber meets the road with taking trophies. So with that out of the way, and kind of that caveat on pretty much all the hunts I go on, My expectation or my hope was to, get a nice lion. You're on tracking. I've hunted with Buzz and his trackers before, and they are the best in the business, and it's great fun to be able to pursue these animals on foot. And the other nice thing about lion hunting is you're typically cutting off a trail and baiting occasionally, and so there's always opportunity to take other animals, whether it's zebra or whether it's hippo or tuskless or buffalo. That's what makes a lion hunt so nice, is it's essentially a full bag hunt with lion at the apex of the to-do list. So my expectation was high in terms of just getting to put eyes on some amazing creatures in the indigenous territory that they come from. And other than that, I just wanted to enjoy myself. I mean, we wanted to hunt a tuskless. It's an exciting hunt, as I'm sure Buzz can attest better than anyone on the planet about that. And if the opportunity presented itself, we wanted to pursue a lion on foot, which we did multiple times. In fact, the only reason we didn't take the lion on foot is because the area we were tracking him kind of turned into a little bit maybe too hairy of a situation. So we decided to intercept him with some to draw him out. So that was essentially, in a nutshell, my expectations on the hunt, and far surpassed any preconceived ideas I had.
Lions have there's been a real shift in what we think of as a trophy lion. In olden days, and it's still with a lot of people, the only thing that they're interested in is a big mane. But today, just walk me through how the conservation of not only taking a lion, but taking the right lion has changed the game.
It's changed massively, as you say, Dave. In the olden days, to have a decent mane, bang, you'd shoot it, whether it was in a pride or not. Very little thought went into the age factor, where there's a huge emphasis now in Zimbabwe, as well as Zambia and other places, which is good. Our national parks have put a minimum of 5 years old on the male. Ideally, you want to shoot something in the 6-7 year category. And the idea behind that is it's a lion that shouldn't be in the pride. You've got to try and determine that it's not in the pride, which you can do, obviously, tracking a single male, or on your trail cameras. You can see whether it's in a pride or not. And at 7, it's a good, solid, mature cat. And ideally, as I say, you want to be a bit older, the 8, 9, and ideally, top of the game would be to shoot a cat that's closer to 10. They're pretty rare, but at that point, they are definitely never going to be part of a pride. They've spread their genes, and really they're waiting for a pretty unpleasant death, that mainly at the hands of hyenas. And if you can focus on those lions and take those cats out of the area, then there's been absolutely no detrimental hunting of pride males or the younger males. So that was our focus. And as I say, Zimbabwe, and in fairness, most of the other countries, Zambia, Mozambique, there is a big drive from a conservation point of view of shooting the older males. And I think it's been fantastic. We've seen the last probably 5 or so years, we've seen an incredible improvement on trophy quality and an age of lions being shot.
Well, how nice is it, with all that said, to have a client come over like Todd, and the first thing when you're talking about expectations is to say, Buzz, I want to have a great lion hunt, and if I'm lucky enough to get one, I've got one qualification. I want him to be an old guy.
It's a real treat, and I can tell you something else. You might have a few clients say that, but it's not often they stick to their guns when you get a youngish male with a big mane, and the PH is getting excited, the tracker's jumping up and down as well with the excitement, and you have your client actually stick up for his earlier decision. Great. And I'll tell you what, we did. We saw some good ones.
Man, well, I got to tell you, the devil's on your shoulder. when
oh, yeah.
you see as many as we saw.
Yeah.
And it did take some fortitude to be like, I know the right thing to do here. And we all did, and had the full support of the entire camp. And man, were they ecstatic when we decided who we were going to focus on, and we made the choice of which lion we wanted to pursue. So not a single regret. Like I said, blew my expectations out.
Well, let's dig into it right now. Let's get this lion hunt started. The first part of the lion safari is baiting, and if they're available in the area you're hunting, it is hard to beat a big hippo bull for bait. It's a fun hunt on its own, but it provides you, how many baits you get off a hippo, Buzz? 6?
Yeah, you've got 6 good lion baits out of a hippo.
And y'all have found exactly that out in a little pan out in the middle of nowhere.
While we watched that, I've just got to tell you a funny story. The day before we came to this pan, and we saw a dead hippo in the pan, and basically I very nearly got Eddie, my driver, to wade in there and tie the back leg and would pull him out, but we were otherwise preoccupied on a track, so we went on tracking, came back to pull the dead hippo out to find it had disappeared. So we nearly had sent poor old Eddie to tie the back leg of a hippo that was fast asleep with his head down.
So you just tie it, and then Todd just kind of grabs it up on the bank and just pulls it up on the shore by him. So, oh, well, he's getting lazy. He's going to use a cruiser. Yeah, he told us he just put it over his shoulder and just walked it up the bank, but apparently that's not correct.
No,
in this area there's a lot, and this is an early season hunt, and bear in mind this area has a lot of internal pans, and you get these hippo that move out of the actual river and move down to the pan, so it's actually a little bit more exciting than popping them in the river, and it just worked well. It was it serves me correctly, did a second day, and bang, hippo down and 6 lion baits to put up. So it was a good use of our time, I think, and a great shot, actually, perfect shot from Todd. Pretty good all round.
So, boys, now you've got a hippo. You've got 6 baits that you're going to get busy putting up, and I think, Buzz, you went to look at another bait selection site, and there was another hippo in there, and this is just a hell of a piece of footage. I'd never seen it. Todd said he'd never seen it. I don't know if you've seen it, Buzz, but here it is. Walk us through what we're about to see here.
I'm going to have to watch it. I can't remember.
Listen to this.
Eyes are closed. He's obviously asleep.
Can I take you through it?
Yeah.
All right, so we were taking a walk, and we heard this most bizarre sound. We weren't sure what it was, and we thought it might have been a lion having killed something, and eventually we get closer, and there was the pan, and here was this huge hippo bull. And basically what had happened, he'd been fighting with another hippo, and that other hippo had gorged a hole through the side of him and exposed, I think, a lung. And whenever he went down in the water, his lung was filling up. He was extremely unhappy. And when we threw a rock or two, out he went, and you're going to see now, you'll see the blood pouring out of him. But, what a beautiful hippo bull it would have been to take. But we'd already shot ours. But fantastic viewing of this old hippo.
When Christy showed me that footage and I heard that sound, I thought he was snoring. Because it was that...
How did we? Initially we thought maybe it was a lion on a kill until we got to the pan, and then we thought, well, he's fast asleep snoring, but it wasn't. It's that I think it was water going into his chest cavity, and he was basically half drowning. But big old hippo bull.
Buzz, I was looking at that really hard. An old bull, one of the indicators, obviously, of an old hippo, he's going to have a lifetime of battle scars.
He had lots of scars on the back, and I think he'd been living in that pan. And as I say, those old bulls often, they go to the sanctuary of a pan, and they're not in the river with other bulls. But he'd obviously been in a fight, and he's got a graze. So bleeding like that, going out at night, I'm absolutely sure he had a few lions that had a go at him, and that's probably the scratches on his back. So all in all, a grumpy old guy. And unfortunately for us, we had already taken our hippo, which was for bait. But he would have been a magnificent one to hunt. But nonetheless, it was an incredible experience.
Well, so now I guess we get back into the meat and potatoes of it. Now you're setting out baits. So, from just to give people an idea, lions are highly mobile animals, and they're following the food. Individual males, they're out marking territories. They're defending their area from, males that overlap. So, how big an area from if you took the bait over on this side and the bait over on that side, how big an area are you baiting to start out with?
Dave, it's always a tough one. A lot of PHs get so super excited and they start throwing baits far and wide, and we're talking massive areas that we hunt. Nyakasanga is nearly 400,000 acres, and you can make a mistake of doing your bait run and it ends up being way too far, and you can't actually cover your baits in a day. So what we try and do is be quite strict on yourself. As the season goes on, and even from past seasons, generally the areas of various males, and you try and stick to within a reasonable distance so that your bait run can be completed in a day, and also so that you can hunt during the day. You don't want to end up leaving at sunrise and getting back at sunset and only being able to check your baits. We
Right.
wanted to shoot other stuff, as Todd said, and we needed a bit of time. So that's what the focus was.
Well, it didn't take long. For you to get action. Y'all even ran into lions.
There were
They're
a lot of
everywhere.
lions. In fact, there's this one you're seeing. Oh, that was great. This one is seeing myself and Todd track these guys. Just too young, but there were tons of lions around.
And y'all tracked that one.
There were two
Yeah, we've
young
been
males
tracking
on
him
that
for a while.
kill. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
did
it
you
was
ever
a-
see
it was
him?
several
You found a half-eaten impala. Did you actually, you had said you bumped him off there, but did you ever see that line?
Oh yeah, yeah. We when we approached, he was still on it, and he saw us and bumped probably another 50, 60 yards back and kind of posted up, and just kept his eye on us as we walked in to see his kill. And then we walked up on and found that impala leg, and then he took off. But if memory serves, I believe there were two young males on that particular kill, and the one that ended up sticking around is the one we saw, obviously. But that was very exciting.
Well, noticing where you bait is very typical of a lot of the line hunts that I've been on and videoed. If you can find an area that's got water, that's got heavy cover, that's a great place to bait, and you were baiting at a lot of the pans, it looked like, and obviously looking at trail cam footage early in the hunt of some of the cats. Yeah, there's one right there, daytime. There he is. Is that
That's
pretty?
our boy, actually.
Yeah.
That's our boy.
Yeah, don't give away too much here. Now that is an old, but you can tell that's an ancient line, and obviously, Buzz, if you spot, if you say, "Good Lord, this is a line we're absolutely gonna hunt," you get to build a blind, you hunt. But I think on this hunt, y'all were seeing so many lines that, knowing the country and knowing the population of lines, it seemed like and tell me if I'm right or wrong, but your plan was to get up baits and just keep checking them, because new lines can rotate in and run younger lines off. And
Pretty much, Dave. There were a huge amount of lines, much more than normal. And Nyakasanga's always got a lot, but for whatever reason, when we were there with Todd, it was just insane. They were all over. So combined with the fact that Todd, he wasn't putting us under any pressure, and he really wasn't, which is such a pleasure. And combined with the fact that he wanted a really old line, we just kept on going. But the problem there is meat. These things eat a lot, so you want to keep them going. We had that beautiful old line going. We wanted to keep him feeding, but he eats a lot, so your baits start running out pretty damn quickly.
well, you guys remedied that problem by going after. There's a big elephant population in Nyakasanga, and now it's time to go collect a Tuskless, which you have on license, and let's go through this hunt.
again. Okay, watch these ones. Come this way. Come this way. Come this way. Come this way. Okay. Let's move this way. Come, come. Oh, God. Let's give them a bit of time. Let's come this way. So she's pretty dead with that, but come here. See where they give. Hey, 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 hey! Okay, move back. Move back. Move right back, please.
Wow.
Yeah, it's something that I'm just literally, maybe 2 weeks ago, I finally honored a promise to my wife that I'll never do it again, because it is an extremely dangerous hunt. And yeah, the cows, they are aggressive, and they sometimes instead of defense, they come on the offense. And yeah, they are a very close-knit family group, and you've got to be super careful hunting them. First of all, you've got to select one that's obviously a tuskless, and two, that she doesn't have a dependent calf, and that alone puts yourself at risk. And it's an extremely dangerous hunt. And in this particular one that Todd shot, a good-sized cow, we needed bait. And in fairness to Todd, the first shot, I actually probably should have waited a bit. I got Todd, who was slightly cranking away, which makes it a bit more difficult. She went down, and then you saw us moving away from the group. This is one of the biggest things with these elephant cows. The danger quite often is after the shot. And the cows were milling around, and we try to put some distance to hope that they would then push off, and we could go and give her a final killing shot.
Well, that was a hell of a bit of excitement, and Todd, you handled that perfectly. You stood your ground. You faced it. You guys, your shots just melted in over each other, and you killed her straight away, and then went in and finished the other one. So, people say, well, what do you do with that second elephant? And Buzz, it's important that people understand that in Zimbabwe, a game scout, government game scout accompanies every safari every day. And their job is to make sure that all the game laws are observed, and everybody's doing observing the laws and hunting ethically. And look, those things happen. And so when that happens, you've got the videotape. I mean, that's obviously a self-defense shooting. That video speaks for itself. So, but that elephant is immediately utilized by the rural Africans that live in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, in this case, it's a safari area, so we don't have people. But what happens with it, and I go back to where you said your game scout's an important man, and he makes that call. And he clearly saw it was self-defense. The video was there for everyone to see, as you said. So he got a hold of the top guys at the top and said, absolutely shot in self-defense. And then what happens from there is that elephant gets fully recovered. And all the meat then went to the national parks rangers. And it's important. They can dry that meat. They use it when they're doing their anti-poaching. Quite often, the off-season, that meat lasts for ages. They can take that and they do long patrols. And it's an important source of protein for the parks guys, as it is in communal areas where we have villagers living. But in this case, it was a safari area, so it went to the parks guys.
So very good. So that elephant disappears. He's utilized for meat, but the initial tuskless that you guys got, that turns into new line baits. And
yeah, you're getting a pretty good lay of the land for sure. Once you get a handful of baits up and some cameras, and you start to recognize the movement of some of these lions. Like here's a couple of younger lions, and what it amazes me, especially with Buzz's team, is how systematically they'll frame an area. Essentially, it's very, very calculated in how they set baits, and the ability to look at the animals that are coming onto those baits and either say, yes, this is an animal we want to keep here, or, these are animals that are not something we're interested to take, and if we continue to bait here, nothing's going to come in. They're going to run anything that probably would be that we'd be looking for. They're going to run them off, and then you are able to move on to another area and kind of maximize the bait efficiency. In some cases, you can take an old bait down and reuse it in another area if the lines that are hitting that particular bait aren't something that's really of interest. So it's pretty interesting and very calculated and scientific in terms of how Buzz and his team work a bait situation in this area.
Buzz,
I think Todd, you summed it up well in that picture there where we saw 3 younger males. I think we ended up dropping that bait and reusing it for the simple reason, as Todd says, those 3 guys, I mean, they might be younger, but they're damn strong and they form a great coalition. And one old guy ain't going to come feeding there when those 3 young guys are there. So we would have just been feeding them for free. So we did. We ended up moving out and moving that bait on and leaving 3 unhappy lions. But that's the way it works.
So Todd, at this point in the safari, you've got several lines. You had that one ancient old guy that you'd seen, but you're now starting to get pretty consistent hits on different baits.
Yeah, most definitely. And you narrow down your target list from the trail camera pictures just on the animals that you're seeing, and you basically say, okay, this is our ideal one. But maybe there's 1 or 2 others that look pretty good that I wouldn't say settle for. That's a terrible way to put it, because it's a privilege to pick any one of them. But you basically kind of triage, who's kind of on the hit list, so to speak. But that's exactly what we did.
But you're covering an immense amount of area, and the entire time when you're, whether you're walking, you're tracking, you're driving between bait sites, you always got your eyes open for other game. And one afternoon, you guys were heading to check out another bait, and you ran into a pretty nice opportunity here.
Oh yeah, the mobile shooting sticks there. We found a really nice old kudu bull. He had a little bit broke off the top of his horn, and we were just checking for a good spot to maybe hang another bait. We were actually, I believe, in that area running between a couple of bait sites, checking them, and ran across this guy just dipping his horns in the mud to get a little of that bush air conditioning. And beautiful kudu bull.
That's a toad. Look at the neck on that thing. That is a toad of a bull.
It was a monster, and you can see he's actually just coming out of the rut. Going into it. His neck is nice and heavy. And Nyakasanga, actually, funny enough, kudu are not easy. So that was a blessing, and we obviously got the fillets for ourselves, but that's about all we could take, because the rest went on lion baits.
Okay, so he joins the baiting plan. So I really want to touch on this. You got a big old male, and obviously you guys are in the vehicle, and this thing has seen you down here. You can tell if you've done enough hunting when you get into a safari area what the hunting pressure has been like.
Yeah, it was, dozens, literally dozens of lions to look at. And when I say dozens, I'm not saying cumulatively between, prides of females. I mean, male lions by far were the bulk of what we saw, and there were dozens. It was absolutely loaded up with them. You'll find a lion that resonates with you when you're running the baits and you're looking at trail cam pictures. But early in the hunt, you're always reluctant maybe to commit, because you've got loads of time ahead of you in the safari, and you want to make sure that you've kind of picked the bone clean, so to speak, on your choices. But we found one male that just got in my craw. And I mean, he was ancient and had been through the ringer, just a train wreck. There's a picture of him there smiling pretty for the camera. He had broken teeth, he had puncture wounds, he had an abscess. I mean, a train wreck of an old lion. And let me tell you, that is the finest trophy I have ever taken of any animal, as an example of exactly the kind of trophy that you're supposed to take when you're on one of these hunts. And, you know, finally, after we've seen enough, we're like, that's our guy. And that would be an honor to take that lion. And our pursuit went to him. So
then when you tell Buzz that's the one I want, y'all go. Now you are into the final stages of a hunt. Got your blind, you've made your approach. You come sneaking in here. Andy puts his camera, and there is the results of all your hard work.
Bear in mind, this is crack of dawn, so we're walking into the blind in the dark. This is first light in the morning, like 5:15 in the morning, around there.
Whenever you're comfortable. Yeah. Shoot.
And you know, Buzz, when you talked about the end of most old lions are being drugged down by hyenas when they can't defend themselves, that's a proper end of life for such a magnificent animal. I mean, he never heard the shot that killed him.
Not at all. Beautiful ending for an old boy. Literally standing under the meat 1 second and dead the next. A beautiful way and the right way to end such an old lion's life. Great shooting from Todd. It really
we'll
was.
Just watch a really special moment unfold right here.
What a lion, sir. Hey, what a lion. Well done, man. What a lion.
Look at this old guy.
Missing teeth.
Ancient.
You know, such a spectacular moment and really, you know, emotional. You know, things like this to me are always weighty. You know, I'd hunted elephant with Buzz before and took my very first elephant bull with Buzz. I'd hunted him many times and I remember, you know, choking up on that elephant. I'm sure Buzz remembers it too quite well. And, you know, this was no different. What a privilege it is to be able to engage the continent of Africa in this way and just immerse yourself in that situation and have the opportunity to take a magnificent aspirational trophy. It was one of the highlights of my hunting career for sure.
Well, you weren't quite through. You shot lion, elephant, kudu, and you eventually shot a unicorn. I want to show that real quick. Not many people think they're going to go to the valley and shoot a unicorn, but you sure as hell pulled it off. You know the video that we're talking about, and you said it was a trophy that as many times as you've hunted the valley that you have really wanted to take. And of course, I'm talking about the smallest member of our tiny antelope, the Sharp's Greisschnapper. I think that thing went 8 feet in the air when you shot him.
Backflipped about.
I have to say, I'm a
little
little embarrassed on that one. The deal on trophy judgments on a Greisschnapper, if you can see a horn, he's a shooter, and I think he was side on at the time. I saw a horn. Thought, great, right, Todd, you're in. shot it, and as you say, this thing jumped 8 foot in there. We get up there and it's got one horn. But a big old boy, eh?
And I know that bothered
Amen.
Todd Curell about this much. He appreciated that trophy.
Maybe a little less than that. You bet.
Yeah.
You know, I love those bonus species, man. I mean, everybody, I mean, not everybody, that's a really kind of crass thing to say, but, you know, everybody goes after kudu. Everybody goes after, you know, buffalo, but it's not often you get an opportunity to take those little bonus guys.
Oh, yeah.
And they're overlooked and some of the most difficult ones to come by. And in my book, they're some of the most rewarding.
Yeah, and you took a really nice warthog doing the same thing. Y'all had seen this old boar out a couple of times, I think, before while you were on the move for, you know, between baits. And, you know, Buzz said, hey, if you want to, you know, a lot of times those things can be seen in the same spot. He seemed pretty happy where he was at. You decided to do a walk-in one day and sure enough found him and made as you typically do, made a beautiful shot, and you had a big warthog. And again, just watching your footage, and you know how special the Zambezi Valley is to me. I mean, you know, some of my very best memories of my life center around, you know, hunts there. And you guys took a few days, you know, a few afternoons off to enjoy what is worth the trip just itself, to be on the Zambezi River, one of the world's most historic waterways. And, you know, you brought your fly rods out there and you caught a couple of fish that looked like tiger fish, only smaller. I was just teasing you, but you caught a few tiger fish. But where can you be fishing where you're floating by bull elephants at 10 yards and you know, you guys are doing some sundown dinners out there on a sandbar and stuff. And brother, if that doesn't put an exclamation point on a Zambezi Valley adventure, I don't know what does. That makes such an impact on people, and your hunters always come back and, you know, tell us that, man, it wasn't just the hunt, it was just the entire time. It was just the experience. Everybody was so friendly, and you could tell they appreciated us being there, and that hats off to your outfit, because you always provide an experience that will last way longer than just a hunt.
Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate that, and you touched on it briefly with Todd. And Todd, as Dave was saying, you know, you're in there and you said it. You're there to hunt and have fun. And you know, I think, Todd, you'll agree. I make a heavy point of the team, and the team is everything. And I like to have fun with my guys, and you get the most out of them. They work harder that way, and when you've got a client that gets involved in the humor with everyone on the back, it just makes for a great safari, and it truly was. And I would like to summarize one thing, and I don't know if you've got the footage there, Dave. You know, when we tracked that lion, and when we caught him, we boxed him up, and then we baited him, and we were so sure we were going to get him that morning that we actually bought the gas braai and we bought breakfast, and we thought, all right, we'll have a barbecue if we get him. And sure enough, when we got that lion, we actually just got some beautiful mopani wood. We lit a fire and we're having breakfast barbecue with the lion behind us. And lo and behold, a beautiful, huge elephant bull walked right behind the lion. I mean, 30 yards from us. And that just summed it up. It was just incredible.
Like 50 pounds on one tusk. He was a single tusker, but he was
actually kind of afraid Mr. Curell there to come and take the lion. It would have been a good picture. I'd take the elephant. Would have been a good picture, elephant and lion. But we're saving that for another.
Well, rest assured, before Christy gets through with her magic, you'll be seeing exactly what you just explained. And that was, yeah, if you had to say we're going to draw, we're going to say here's the exact point where we put the exclamation point on this hunt, that would have to be it.
That was it for sure. You know, that elephant stepped out of the bush there, not far at all from us, and Buzz and I looked at each other, and kind of looked at the elephant, looked back at each other, and we're like, let's just enjoy where we're at right now.
Yeah.
But it was it was close.
Yeah, no, that was a great.
I'm so glad we did, God, because it was such a momentous occasion. It would have detracted from, an incredible and amazing hunt. It was the right call.
I really enjoyed today. Congrats on a great hunt, Buzz, and congratulations on a hell of a safari that you had, Todd.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Dave.
so
Thank you very much, Buzz.
All right, boys. See y'all.
Thank you, guys.
See you soon. And everybody, we'll see you this time next week on Safari Classics TV.